Okay. All right, we'll call the meeting to order. Amy, if you can take the roll call.
Mayor.
Here.
Ms. Burhoop. Here. Ms. Hoffman.
Here.
Ms. Strain. Here. Mr. Tucker.
Here.
And say the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, I think we have a couple changes to the agenda. And Julie, if you want to make that
Sure. I would
motion.
like to make the motion to amend tonight's agenda to move item 5 before item number 4. That's moving the Housing Redevelopment Commission section before Planning and Zoning. And then I would also like to amend the Planning and Zoning to include a public hearing for plat Lot 5 of Tract 3 Union Crossing. So it was all information that was in the packet, but we just need to amend the agenda to include the public hearing.
Okay, and then we'll look for a motion to approve that agenda.
So moved. I'll second that.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, agenda approved, and we'll look for a motion to approve the minutes from April 20th, regular meeting.
So moved.
I have an amendment to that one too. I would like to make a correction on item 3, II, to, right now there's an exclamation mark, and we're just clarifying that that's Lot A.
Okay,
And then I'll second Jessica's motion as amended.
okay.
So moved.
All the,
Or-
we already have a motion in a second?
We did.
Okay,
I'll make-
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, amended minutes approved. Next, Commissioner, Department Head, and Community Board reports.
Rich, could you give an update on the boat ramp?
The boat ramp currently has a screen that needs to be replaced, so we hired ECI, local business here in town, to do it. They worked on it all day Monday, and then they left. I don't know why, but I'm in contact with them. They're gonna get back up. They gotta replace that screen. The board is up and posted, so the amounts went up as far as unloading and picking your boat back up, drop off, pick up, and then the yearly fees. From there, we're gonna post another sign that basically says that you're entering the lake at your own risk. Me and Jeff have been talking about that, so we'll get that sign made, get that hung up, and hopefully by the time the water comes back up another foot, it'll be opened up. Any questions?
And it's my understanding they need about 4 more feet of water. Could be about 4 weeks.
We got some people fishing down there now. I see they were catching some carp, so at least the boat ramp's being used.
Good. Get as many carps as they can. All right, thanks, Rich.
Thank you, Rich.
Just a couple things on my end. We're starting the 2027 budgeting process. Started a conversation with our coordination group in Stockwell last week. We'll be developing a 5-year CIP, capital improvement plan, and then we'll involve the commissioners on the capital improvement part of that plan individually in relation to your particular department. And then we'll move on to the operating portion of the budget, and then we'll meet again with you again on the operating portion of it and kind of sum it all up before we start bringing it to commission for consideration. It has to be done September 30th, and so we'll probably start working through the group commissioning part of that meeting in August and July. Right now, we're finalizing things for the new library director hire. Should be able to make an announcement on that at our meeting on the 18th. We had a public hearing here last week on Safe Streets for All. That's the study that CCOG and Houston Engineering are doing on intersections and traffic issues within the city. Didn't have a lot of people at the public hearing, but we have had a lot of response on the webpage. So we have had a lot of public input on the webpage. So that's now going into the final study stage, and we'll be able to use that as we get into our capital budget to identify things that we can do to improve the flow of traffic. The corridor study is another one that I think really needs, that we'll be having another public hearing on that, and that's the I-29 corridor study, where they're studying changes to the main line from the Missouri, or the Big Sioux River all the way up to Jefferson, and all the interchanges in between. I think it's important to kind of coordinate those two studies, the corridor study and the Safe Streets for All. One of the major intersections that has gotten a lot of attention is River Drive and Sodrack. But that'll also be in consideration for when they redo Exit 2. So we need to kind of think about those things in conjunction with each other as we look for solutions there. Lastly, the bike trail should be completed the first week of June is the schedule now. There will be no work in front of the duplexes there. I just want to make that clear. I've had several calls on that, but I have asked Stockwell to examine two options to get that bike traffic from where it will end at the corner of Sodrack and, is it Belmont? Up to the corner, and that could be like a sidewalk on the other side of the road or a painted line on the street, a bike lane. So we'll come up with some solutions to finish that. But right now, there is no work to be done in front of the duplexes. So looking forward to that getting done, and hopefully being able to have some sort of a ribbon cutting sometime in June or July.
All right, anyone else? Okay, we'll open it up to community input. If anybody else has something to share that's not on the agenda, please come forward. All right, hearing none, we'll move on to the agenda items. The first one is the North Shore bypass. We have an amendment to the work order for consultant services for local government projects, additional consulting services related to land acquisition and environmental review.
So this is, once Amy gets that up there.
It's going to be one of them meetings.
It's a big packet, I think it's bogging it down.
Okay.
So this is a change order to the engineering portion of the contract. It's the first change order, and it's necessitated because of expanded project management, a completion of a noise analysis study, and additional right-of-way services involved in the acquisition of the properties. Both Stockwell and the land acquisition consultants, WSB, had a lot more time running different scenarios for the different negotiations for all the different parcels that we had. The noise analysis was incorporated into the completion of the environmental review from Penrose and their discussions with council about the noise problem. And then, just continually modifying the different options to try to continue to provide input or information to commissioners and the old council and the community. So if you'd scroll up a little bit. And it's broken out. The amendment is for $378,002.96. Previous contract was $2,002,369.33. So the new maximum contract amount will be $2,380,372.29. All that work has been completed and done. It's just now a matter of truing up the contract amount. This change order went to, Paula Heisinger is here from South Dakota DOT. The change order request went from Stockwell to them, and now it's in front of you for review and approval. The project schedule has not changed, remains unchanged, November 30th, 2027, with interim deliverables outlined in the work order. We hope to have this project bid to the bidding phase by the fall, with construction starting as soon as late 2026 and into 2027.
And
Paula, do you
these,
have any comments? No?
and these costs are potentially eligible for reimbursement through CDBG?
CDBG.
DR?
Yeah, we'll be applying for, which is another part of the agenda later on, we'll be applying for CDBG DR funds for the local match of the North Shore Bypass project.
Any questions on the amendment? Look for a motion to approve the amendment. One more question. The noise study, was that a earlier request that just is getting taken care of now?
Yes, that was done during the EA process. So when they were doing that environmental assessment, that was done during that, and then it just got tied into this amendment. This was delayed a little bit because of the flood and because of, the change in council. There was some delays in getting this through the system for those reasons.
Okay, thank you.
I don't think any of us like spending more money, but on the other hand, it sounds like this is work that needed to be done to keep the project moving forward. So I will make the motion to approve amendment number 1 to the work order as outlined in our council packets.
I'll second it.
Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. All right, moving on to number 2, flood recovery, North Shore reconstruction update. Ross?
All right, thank you. Start off with the North Shore Drive reconstruction project. The contractor's been going for a little over a month now, making good progress on some of the grading work on the east end, basically anything east of Penrose. The majority of that grading work has been done. Also progressing on storm sewer installation, focusing on the storm sewer outfalls, so it's the largest diameter pipe, the 60-inch and the 72-inch. All of that pipe has now been installed, so they're starting to transition to some of the smaller storm sewer pipe that's going to tie together the whole system within North Shore, and looking at starting some of the other utility work, which includes like service installation for lots where we didn't stub out water or sewer service to previously in the next week or so. The grading contractor also is beginning to build up a temporary path on the north side of North Shore west of Penrose. So as they expand their construction limits to that west end, that'll be the path where Penrose residents will get access to their homes, as well as the residents along North Shore will be utilizing those access. So that work just kind of got started today. It's really rough right now, so if anybody drives out there, it's going to look a lot better than what it looks like right now. And we'll plan on making sure that that road's stable before they can take out any of the asphalt that's on North Shore right now. The flood property grading project, Lieber Construction is working on that one. It's west of our current project limits of North Shore Drive. They're essentially done with all the grading work that they can do until the garages are moved. And they've also installed all the riprap on that section, so that's ready to go for erosion control. We'll come back and do some additional erosion control and seeding once the grading can be completed. We're also working with them on a request for proposal or change order request, essentially, to extend that project contract to the one other area further east. And we made sure that it's going to be within the limits allowed by the South Dakota codified law. So we're not running into any issues with that. And also the second phase of that flood property grading project advertised last Friday. It'll advertise again this Friday, and then we will open bids on that one on next Wednesday. If you have any questions about any of those projects, be happy to answer those questions.
So I understand they're doing some erosion control where the storm sewer outlets come into the lake. So they've temporarily kind of suspended the pumping for a week or so until they can get that complete, and then they'll go back to full pumping.
Yeah, I think Rusty might have had the conversations with whoever's controlling the pumping. We're trying to hold back or hold down, I guess, the lake water elevation as long as we could to hopefully get that work done. I just learned at the end of last week that the lead time for that particular erosion control mats we're talking about is going to be another week and a half to 2 weeks. So I'm not sure that, that delay in pumping or holding off is going to be long enough to really complete that work. So I think John touched on it at the last commission meeting that the alternative is if for some reason they can't get that work done right now, we'll just have to come back in the fall and set those mats in once the lake elevation's down far enough. And we'll probably have to do some sort of interim stabilization. And that's more just the bank stabilization stuff. It's not, the actual outfall does have riprap. I think that just got installed today. So we're not running into issues with, major erosion caused by the storm sewer outfall, but it's just kind of the bank stuff.
Yeah, I'd like to take a hard look at that before we abandon the efforts to keep the water down. I think after, I think May 18th is when you said the mats would be ready. There may be ways that we can enhance the pumping capability of the association, and we could add water from our well system at the Streeter Drive water plant and maybe make up that difference. So before I want to thoroughly explore that chance before we abandon our efforts to keep that water down. I'd really like to get this project done this summer while the contractors are here.
I would hope that you would look really hard at keeping the lake level down long enough to do whatever work we need to do, because we've waited for 2 years, so what's another month?
Fair enough. We will look at that very hard over the next couple of weeks here leading up to the 18th. If there's a reasonable chance that we can accomplish what we need to with enhanced pumping and supplementing the water, we'll do that.
Any other questions? If not, I think Sean is going to come up here and talk a little bit more about the CBDG DR program and the applications. And I'll stay up here if there's any other questions on that.
I think now is the time to open the public hearing for the CDBG.
Okay.
So we'll need a
Need a
motion.
motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Sorry.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right. Hi, Sean.
All right, thank you, Mayor. My name is Sean Hagee. I'm with Southeastern Council of Governments, or CCOG for short. I'm just going to provide a little bit of information on the CDBG-DR application program. CDBG-DR stands for Community Development Block Program, specifically for disaster relief. you guys normally can qualify for CDBGR. However, for this one, it's specific to the 2024 floods because North Sioux City was hit very hard with those floods and the disaster declaration. There's a pot of funding that became available through HUD and then through State's Governor's Office of Economic Development that you guys are able to qualify for and apply for projects for. That amount is about a little more than $15 million. In front of you guys are 4 projects that have been identified by North Sioux City that they're looking to apply for. CCOG is going to be working with North Sioux City, Roswell Stockwell, and then South Dakota's Governor's Office of Economic Development, that's a mouthful, in order to make these applications and get them applied for by the deadline of June 12th. The 4 projects that you guys are looking at doing are the Centennial Lift Station, the River Drive Lift Station, as Jeff said earlier, the local match for the North Shore bypass, and then a local match for a Corps of Engineers Lower Big Sioux River Flood Mitigation General Investigation. The important thing to note about the CDBG-DR funds is that because it's for disaster relief, it is 100% federal funds for the amounts that are used. So there is not a local match that is going to be required for these projects after we apply for them. If there's any questions about the application process or anything like that, I'd be happy to answer them. If there's questions specific about the projects, Ross is here as well to answer those questions.
You know, one of the 4 items that we've identified for these CDBG-DR funds are, the first 3 are to harden our infrastructure, to make them more resilient to flooding, to tornadoes, to any natural disaster. And also, you know, the Centennial and River Drive lift stations benefit to the low to moderate income population of North Sioux City will come in the form of reduced surcharges. I mean, those funds would have to be borrowed, which we'd have to institute a surcharge to pay them. And with grant money from the CDBG-DR or EDA, we've also applied to the Economic Development Administration for funding to fund these 2 projects so that we can avoid a debt for these 2 projects. The North Shore bypass, the $6.3 million there, I think everybody could agree that the school needs 2 entrances, 2 options for access. And also the redundancy that project will provide to the west side for utilities is going to be is critical moving forward. And then the 4th one, the local match for the Corps of Engineers study, a mitigation study to help identify mitigation efforts that we could undertake that would avoid what happened in 2024 is hugely important. That 1.5 over 3, it's going to be up to $1.5 million over 3 years. The study can cost at a maximum of $3 million. So that's, and we're responsible, the locals are responsible for half of that. And that 1.5 would represent local match from Dakota Dunes, North Sioux City, and the rural parts of the county. The city of Sioux City will also participate in this project on the local match side. And so whatever we can get from other entities will just reduce that amount from our local match. But the CDBG-DR is designated for the 57049 and 57038 zip codes, and so that's why that's being used to cover all 3 entities' local match. And if for some reason we get EDA money and there's money left over within this CDBG pot, we'll try to get another round of funding for that. And we'll have to go through this process again for other projects. But these are the 4 priorities at this time.
Any questions for Sean? Or any other comments? Well, if not, I think we need a motion to move out to close the public hearing.
So moved.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, close the public hearing. Next item is Park Board update and then a new project.
Lynn? Just a comment, Lynn and her team at the Parks and Rec Board put together a great dog park plan. I think you'll all like it. It's very feasible and something I think we can easily pull off here in the short term. So thanks, Lynn, for all your work on that.
To the whole group. I would like to start with a little history in that at that time, it was called the Parks and Recreation Board, was revived at the end of 2023. And before that, there was no activity happening. And so it was brought to our attention in 2024 and coming forward that people would like to see a pet park. So I'm going to recognize all the people that have been involved with the pet park since we started working on that. And that is Janet Lingle, who unfortunately is ill tonight. Dan Zaraf is here. Excuse me. Leslie Parker. Bob Livermore is here. Walt Wendell has retired from our group. Faith Ratty is here. Megan Palacios. Deb Rollison is the new person on our committee, but she brings a lot of information with her. She actually is the McCook Lake Cemetery trustee. David Harris is our business representative for the city. Our commission liaison is Vince Tucker, and I am what we call now a non-voting member of this group. When I became a city council person, I was very interested in having a city park for the animals, and so I've been allowed to continue with this. We spent a considerable amount of time looking at where could we have such a park in the boundaries of North Sioux City. And we've compiled a budget for consideration, drawings and renderings, and land use, all under the direction of Jeff, our city administrator. So when you look at this page, this is the location of the dog park, which is between the Sioux law firm and the current city water storage facility on Lakeshore Drive. When if we are able to do the dog park, or the pet park as we call it, the parking will be up at the newly added parking spaces at the water treatment plant. So there's a little bit of a walk, but most people on Lakeshore or on Streeter Drive seem to walk up. They're constantly walking their pets. Okay. Can that go the other way?
You can. Or not.
I have a friend in the business, my friend Mike Neswick from RML. We were talking about the dog park, and I just asked him, could you just put something together that would give us an idea of what a dog park might look like in North Sioux City, which he kindly did for me. And so this is the Streeter Drive bike trail and walking park. And then we have nice evergreens on both sides, but not much many trees inside. Okay. Originally, this was the tentative plan that we had looked at that really would have encompassed all of that particular 1.2 acres. And it appears that it looks like it's a four-section. It is not. It is all one park. And because this is so small, these are actually the dimensions of the park, which gives, we're about 105 by what we technically ended up with was 140 feet deep. Okay. One of our members, Dan Zaraf, had gone up to Sioux Falls and saw this setup for the dog park. And what we liked about that is it brought all of the amenities, the little shelter, and all of the waiting spaces, everything to the front. So by doing that, we were able to make the original size of the park smaller. And that always helps with the cost. This is the budget that we have proposed with Jeff. It's $53,375 totally. We have left some room for a contingency fund for things such as trees or additional park amenities that we might want to add. We're kind of right now at a pretty basic dog park. And if we receive approval for this, we would start about June 1st. And hopefully, in August, we would like to have our last ice cream social for the summer at the new dog park, and we would have that be the official grand opening of the park. So questions?
One comment that I would make on this, you know, she talked a little bit about parking, and we do have room at the water treatment plant to provide that parking, but one of my hopes is that as Union Crossing gets finished up, is that we could have a dog park there as well as in the North Sioux proper area, so that people can just take advantage of their neighborhood dog parks. And I think adding, you know, the Union Crossing one, we should, you know, if they do 1B this fall, by next year, we should be looking at what to do with that park. And then also, we just need to find a place here in the proper to put a small park or a decent-sized park. And Lynn has some ideas on that too. So that'll be for the future, but for now, this is something that, as Lynn said, I think we could accomplish very easily through individual contracts for fencing, concrete, and that kind of stuff. And then we can add to it as we find out what the need is. But I think if we build it, people will come.
There may even be,
Pardon me?
there may even be components that could be sponsored by companies like Royal Canin, maybe, or someone like that.
Mr. Mayor, you have a little work that you have to do before we can go forward on a grant request for Royal Canin. There is they have to go through a system of creating the park system in the city, that we want to be a city with a park for the animals. And so I will be bringing that to you.
Okay.
And then hopefully we will be reaching out.
Great. Any other questions?
Dexter's going to be ecstatic. He's going to be so excited.
I think that we have a great amount of support. We know some of the people from the Dunes Animal Hospital, and they're looking forward to it. And I have some people who came who are pet enthusiasts, and I have to tell you, I'm not the greatest person about going to a dog park, but I can work numbers. And everyone seems to be really excited about adding this to the city. But this is going to be pet park number 1.
How many parking spaces do you anticipate could fit
Oh, I don't know.
next door?
There's plenty of place there. I mean, we could make a new gravel parking lot fairly easy, just to the east of the clear well. I mean, there's a million different ways to skin that cat. It's just, I'd rather just kind of see what the demand is first before we build it. But we get, like I said, we get this in place and get some momentum going, it'll develop itself over time.
All right.
Like it.
So if the board or the commission would be willing to, we have, there's a money in the park budget for 2027 that would accomplish this. And so I'd just ask you to allocate that to the dog park and let Lynn and I secure contracts and get it done.
Okay. We'll look for a motion.
Are there any other parks that have pertinent needs for that money right now? I know you guys did a bunch of work
No.
last year.
No.
I didn't think so.
No, we've been concentrating on this pet park.
Yeah.
And so that's not to say that we have not done anything with the other parks. We do, spring and fall, we go around to all the parks, we check everything, and then periodically as needed in
Right.
between. We keep the maintenance, Rusty and his group are very good. We give him an assignment and he takes care of it right away. So the parks are fairly well maintained. I have a few things when we talk about the work plan,
Yeah.
which is my next item, that I would like to involve people of the community.
Yeah.
Okay.
Still need a motion.
I'm going to make the motion to get this dog park started.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries.
Okay, thank you so much. You know, everybody wants to know, what do you do when you go to a commission meeting? And we come to the commission meeting twice a week and other times as needed. And it's great when you have people who will volunteer to come on another night or another 2 nights, and we work on these items for the community. I think it's a very important thing. So with your blessing, I will continue to work with this group also.
That would be great. Okay, did you say you had another item, Lynn?
The work plan. Last year, Jeff had asked various boards and groups to look into a work plan. When we got the work plan, as was laid out to us, it seemed overwhelming. But we took time to look at it for a couple months, and then in January, we had a Saturday workshop for all the people on our group. And we went through every line, checked everything out, and we listed those things that we felt we could do well and that we had some expertise in. And then there were some items that did not fit with anything that we could do on the Parks Board and public land use. So we created just a simple layout for ourselves and for anyone else interested, in that in the spring we have our park inspection, and then we started the park cleanup. And as you can see, each person got a park that they're responsible for. The Centennial Park was one that really needed a lot of cleanup work, and it's also used by the American Legion. And I know that they'll have something coming up on Memorial Day, so that was very important to get that one cleaned up. I'm going to keep going because I have, unless you want to move down to the pictures, we could do that. Vince had introduced me to Mr. Nick Diaz, who is the Spanish teacher at Dakota Valley, and he is in charge of a group called DV Go Green. And they have about 50 students, and they do this to get work hours for their advancements. And so these were the guys and gals who came over to help with the cleanup. And they spent 2 good hours. I was surprised how well they all kept at their duty and did their cleanup work. And then the next picture, they wanted to make sure that everyone saw. They filled up 20 large bags of not only trash, but other materials that had accumulated at the park, cleaned up all the flower beds, and they really did a great job. And so they will be moving on to other projects with the Parks Board. Now we can go back. If we could go back, I'd appreciate it. I'm only going to go to 2 pages, so that'll be easy. And the one up above, please. In May, we'll be looking at doing some spring plantings. Some of the parks have nice plantings, some of them need some help. Excuse me, we'll be asking for people in the city who might want to get involved with any kind of planting work. We'll have room for that. We have talked about having flower pots or hanging pots and some landscaping along River Drive and at City Hall. And Vince has been working on that. And so we'll be working and letting everybody know what's happening. On June 4th, when we have our first ice cream social, which will be at Centennial Park, it's also going to be our public park planning forum for Adopt a Park. We figure if we get the original cleanup done, then maybe some people would adopt the park and work on it throughout the summer to the fall. And then I'm just going to take the next one. Leslie Parker is working. We have 3 of the parks that have a big wall that helps to separate the homes from the park. And they have been painted in the past. And Leslie is working with a group of artists who would like to repaint at least 1 or 2 of those. And then June 4th will be the ice cream social. On July 14th, Stevens Park, which is down by the maintenance shed, will have an ice cream social there. And then August 12th, we're looking at the dog park to have that be our grand opening. September, we're looking for another public park planning forum, but we don't have that subject done yet. October, fall cleanup. We will do the Halloween trick or treat again. The holiday parade of lights will not happen this year. Instead, we're hoping to do some grand lighting at City Hall so that our North Sioux City Hall knows that we're in this time of the year when we should be lit up. We also will have some interior decorating. Once again, Vince and Leslie Parker will be helping with that. They're already on the hunt for items for Christmas. And we still will have a gathering here, but we haven't quite coordinated everything yet. But it will be holiday lighting, Santa Claus, and I have already spoken to Santa Claus, and he says he will be there. So that's kind of our work plan. And because Jeff is very good at moving everyone along, our 2027 work plan to get ready for the capital budget items that we will need, and then other maintenance items. We'll begin that, we'll start having groups study at first part of summer, excuse me. And, but other than that, it is an exciting group to work with.
Lynn, I appreciate your groups really grasping the work plan, and it has
Yeah.
become a very effective document. I appreciate that.
It's quite all right. We'll be better this year.
Thanks for the update, Lynn. Moving on. So we had moved the Housing Redevelopment Commission update to the next item.
Yeah, a quick update on the Housing Redevelopment Commission. At the last meeting, the commission approved the appointments to the various terms, 1 year, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. So that was good. The group is reorganized now and rejuvenated and ready to make good things happen in North Sioux City. Again, it's still pretty new of a group, so we're not trying to bite off too much, but kind of prioritize a few items, working with Habitat for Humanity on a house donation project, really trying to look at getting a governor's home or governor homes to make affordable housing more attainable in North Sioux City. And then another big priority, which I talked about at the last commission meeting, is getting an updated housing study. There's been a lot of development underway with Union Crossing and Lloyd, and there's just a lot of change since our previous housing study. And so as the group, again, as they get rejuvenated and start looking at their priorities and their work plan and things that they want to sink their teeth into going forward, wanted to get an updated housing study to identify where the gaps are going to be, what they need to address, and what they should be prioritizing. So in collaboration with South Dakota Housing, who's funding 50% of the study, and then CCOG, another 25% of the study, the Housing Redevelopment Commission, they'll be coming in for the remaining 25% to fund a housing study, which will be done through Augustana University. So with that, unless there's any questions on any of that, I'll introduce Dr. Susie Smith from Augustana, and she's going to come up and talk about the housing study, the process, timeline, things like that.
All right, thanks Andrew for the introduction, and thank you for the tour. He gave me a tour of North Sioux City today, and I got to see some of the existing neighborhoods and some of the new developments. There's a lot going on here. So very exciting. I wanted to thank you all for making time in the agenda for me tonight and give you a brief overview of the housing study process and give you an opportunity to ask any questions you have about what this looks like. So I am Dr. Susie Smith. I work at Augustana University with the Research Institute there, and we are the partner for South Dakota Housing's Housing Needs Study Program. So we work with communities across the state to complete these housing studies. The objective is really to gather data about the local housing market. Our goal is to understand the current needs as they are today, and then also provide you projections looking forward to 5, 10, 15 years into the future, what housing needs you might be facing so you can anticipate those and make some data-informed decisions about development here. The timeline for the study, we are kicking it off right now. We will be gathering data through the course of the summer, so we will pull down economic, employment data, population, household data, and some demographic characteristics of the community. We will also be interviewing stakeholders toward the end of the summer, so some of you may hear from me again. And as we near the end of the survey, we're going to do the study, we will do a rental survey. So our target date to get the final report back to the Housing Commission is October of 2026. And as we get toward the end of summer, early fall, we will reach out to the rental properties across North Sioux City to update the local vacancy rate and get an idea of any of the properties that have come online, sort of how they're going with filling units, and get some more up-to-date local data about the rental market. The study also includes comparisons to some peer communities, so you will see data points comparing North Sioux City to similar-sized communities, and some reflection back on the prior study from 2022 and comparisons to the comprehensive plan and how our recommendations in the housing study fit into all of that. So that is what you can expect. My contact information is in the informational sheet that you have in the packet tonight, so you are certainly welcome to reach out to me if you have questions or anything you'd like to share with me as we get into the process of the housing study. Otherwise, I'd also welcome your questions tonight.
One comment I would make, and you and I kind of talked about this, one of the, I think something that's very important to this commission is understanding the impact of what's going on here right now since the last study, what that has done to kind of solve some of the issues identified in the first study, and then also to say, you know, where are we still falling short? And that'll be critical for the HRC to then take and be able to push forward initiatives to try to remedy those. The Housing Redevelopment Commission, I'm really excited about that, and I would say that it's not going unnoticed. I had a good conversation with a local bank here just on Friday with their interest in the Housing Redevelopment Commission and where they could play a role. So I'm excited to see where the HRC can go, and this housing study will be the key part of that work plan moving forward.
Will you be looking at senior housing, also the group home? Like, for instance, the 3 that are up on Streeter Drive?
Yes,
Will
yep.
something of that be included?
Yep, we will include that. Mhm. All right, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next up, planning and zoning update. Ross?
All right, start off with a quick update from our last planning and zoning meeting. Not a lot on the agenda for that meeting. The majority of it was Andrew gave an overview, along with Levi from CCOG, of the comprehensive plan. We had a public hearing for that, which we will be doing again here shortly at tonight's meeting. In other news at that meeting, there were some building permits that the building inspector updated us on. The first several permits for residential structures in Union Crossing were approved. So you'll see some work beginning on that. Otherwise, on the planning and zoning side, we are working on some ordinance revisions that have been in the process for quite a while here, but we're trying to hit the highest priority items and knock out a few of those first off before we kind of do a full overhaul. So we're working on that with city staff right now, and then we'll be presenting that to the planning commission and to you guys when we're ready. So that's all I have for the planning and zoning update, unless you guys have any questions on that part. Okay, then we'll move down to this plat for PBR Capital Group in the Union Crossing development. There's a final plat that was submitted for Lot 5 of Track 3 Union Crossing Edition. This is a final plat within the Union Crossing subdivision, so similar to the previous final plats that we've approved for that subdivision. We first need to hold a public hearing. So I'll ask you guys to open that public hearing, take any comments on that. But just for reference, if Amy, if you could, just go down one more page. The parcel we're talking about platting here is off of Sioux Point Road. Tract E1 that you can see to the south of that lot is the private road that leads over to the Signature Group's apartment complex. So that Lot 5 is kind of within the bold boundary there.
Okay, do we need a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, hearing is open. Any questions for Ross? Or any comments from anyone? Okay. Well,
Yeah, if there's no comments, the planning and zoning's recommendation is to approve the plat tonight, so that would be my only recommendation and comment.
okay. Need a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion, hearing is closed. And then we need a motion to approve the plat.
So moved.
Second?
Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Just to be clear that motion to approve the plat was resolution 2026-11.
2026-11. Yes, and then we have a second one to consider here, per amendment. Is that correct, Amy?
That was it.
Oh, that was it. Okay, never mind. All right.
It was in the packet, but not on the agenda.
Okay, gotcha. All right, next item is public hearing for the comprehensive plan update. Do we need to open up a public hearing here?
Yes.
Okay, I need a motion for that.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, hearing is open.
All right, comprehensive plan. Excited to finally be able to share the draft plan that we have available. This plan has been over a year in the making. I do want to, before I get into this, introduce Levi with CCOG and Avery, who's interning with us here at City Hall. They've been instrumental in helping us get to this point, so I just want to recognize them and thank them for their efforts in creating this in this first draft. Well, not first draft, we're a little bit beyond that, but so I'll go over how we got to this point. Again, over a year in the making, CCOG was instrumental in putting together the framework for this, several staff meetings, work group meetings. We had some small group meetings, so we had 3 different groups, one that focused on infrastructure that included Jeff, myself, Rusty, Stockwell. We had another group look at housing, so we had a couple members of the Housing Redevelopment Commission involved. And then we had a planning and economic development group, so we had 2 members from the Economic Development Corporation Board and a member of the Planning Commission involved. And then we had small group meetings with the city commissioners as well. So that's how we got to this point. I'll go through this. I'm going to try and be quick. There's a lot in here, but try and move through here as quickly as possible. I'll just try and point out some of the big highlights or points of interest from the plan. We have the resolution, table of contents. There's 10 chapters, which you can see, and I'll touch on just briefly each of the 10 as we go through this. I'll just point out the importance of the comprehensive plan. So I highlighted here in yellow that this will provide an overall framework for managing land use, growth, development in North Sioux City. It establishes the policies, recommendation, and it's really going to be used to guide everything we do, from work plans to the budget to the CIP to decision-making at planning commission meetings to city commission meetings. It really is going to act as a guide to anything that we look at going forward. So it's an incredibly important plan that we have in place. So I'll just kind of keep scrolling through. I'll point out that it's intended to be a guide. Things change, circumstances change, things come up, plans go away. So while we do want this to guide everything we do, there does have to be some flexibility as circumstances necessitate.
One thing I would add to that is, instead of, this was done in 2017 last time.
Correct.
We won't wait that long to review it again. Maybe every 2 years, we'll at least have a review of it to see if something needs to be modified or changed. And so we won't we will be back here in 2 years instead of 2030. So we'll keep updating it as the community develops.
Chapter 2 is community demographics. This is just a section on the demographics. The numbers kind of are what they are. I will point out that we have seen good growth in the community between the 2010 2020 census. We saw 20% growth. There's some data here on household composition, population projections.
These statistics need to be updated regularly so we can track our progress. These are the performance measures that we want to look at within the comprehensive plan too.
We have some data on employment. So this data came from the Department of Labor, which listed 269 establishments, about 4,300 jobs in North Sioux City. So really Chapter 2 is just, it's numbers. Not a lot of input, it's because it is what it is. Chapter 3 recognizes the environmental constraints. I highlighted here a brand new section to this plan that was not included in the 2017 plan when it was created, is the need to update the flood mitigation strategy. This recognizes what happened in 2024, recognizes that a new plan needs to be put in place. Other than that, this just recognizes some of the wetlands in the area, some development considerations. We have a map, a floodplain map, and a super colorful soils map. Chapter 4 is infrastructure assessment. This is a section that the infrastructure group looked at, kind of an inventory of some of the recent improvements and some upcoming improvements, which I highlighted. So see, these are some of the plans that the projects or areas for improvement on the transportation side of things going forward. And again, as this would manifest itself through the capital improvement, planning, budgeting, those type of things. So include some of those priorities. Traffic and development considerations, one I'll point out is the Interstate 29 corridor study, which Jeff mentioned earlier, and then the need to constantly be monitoring and studying the area of Sadrack and River Drive, west of kind of the west area of Exit 2 over by People's Bank, gyms, I-29. With all the development in that area, it's going to be important to continue to monitor it and ensure that that's a safe area for traffic and for pedestrians as well. So that's included in this version of the comprehensive plan. There's assessment of the water, wastewater systems. Basically recognizes that the city is in good position, but things could change quickly. So it's worth continuing to monitor those systems as well. One thing I will point out is we did include some narrative about the need to update River Drive and Centennial Drive lift stations, which we talked about earlier, but those do need to get updated, but otherwise pretty good shape. We have some sections on the private utilities, so fiber, electric, gas, and then updated streets plan. Chapter 5, parks and open spaces. Thing I'll point out here is this section does recognize our proximity to Sioux City, Iowa, and the numerous opportunities in Sioux City. There's some larger facilities. There's the riverfront. There's Cone Park. There's some really nice facilities over in Riverside Park with the pool and the splash pad. And there's already some large amenities in the area. Might not necessarily be in North Sioux City, but ones that can be enjoyed by people in North Sioux City. So it would allow for North Sioux City to focus on community parks, trails, dog parks, some of those type of items that we don't have to try and do everything on our own, that we could recognize that we're part of a region where there's some good amenities close by. Same goes for, I'll scroll down a little bit further, the Adams Homestead Nature Preserve. It's not a city park, but it's a large area, outdoor area that provides recreation and educational opportunities that we all benefit from. So again, we don't have to try and be everything. We have some really good opportunities for recreation and that aren't necessarily city parks, but again, can be enjoyed. Do include just a statement of priority in here that we do value recreation, we do encourage trails. We have some narrative in here about dog park facilities and making sure that those are a priority going forward, as well as in parks, community parks, trails. Move the neighborhood analysis. It's chapter 6. This was the section that was reviewed by the HRC members. I'll point out consistent enforcement of building, housing, zoning codes is going to be critical to preserve neighborhood decline and supporting rehabilitation. A lot of times with Housing Commission, thought as new housing, but there's a lot more to quality neighborhoods, and again, enforcement of codes, making sure neighborhoods are well preserved, well kept. So that's stated as a priority in the housing chapter. Again, rehabilitation and preservation of existing housing is a critical aspect of housing moving forward. Did include some narrative about partnering and coordinating with the Housing and Redevelopment Commission. Again, they have a new group in there that is eager to get involved with affordable housing, and part of their efforts are going to be including rehabilitation and preservation of existing housing. I'm going to highlight mixed-use residential development. Our current zoning ordinances really don't address mixed use very well, but it is a common thing. This is commercial on the main floor with residential apartments above. That's become pretty common. I think we have only one of those in North Sioux City right now, where the building where People's Bank, Bob and Ellen's is, and it's turned out pretty nicely. This would encourage more mixed use, which would manifest itself as we go through the zoning ordinance update process. Land use map, I'm going to skip ahead to a few pages. So we have a current land use map. So this map highlights all the parcels within city limits as they're currently being used. Purple's industrial, yellow single family, blue's institutional, so that'd be like the schools, city hall, police department, library. And then the future land use map. So anything that was in gray is now lit up with plans for how the parcels would be or could be utilized in the future. Again, things can change, but this would act as a guide for future land use development.
One thing, a comment that I would make on land use development, this update to the comprehensive plan recognizes the values like the Union Crossings bring to a community, and the opportunity that like the North Shore Bypass will create north of the school. But there's also a lot of opportunity within town with land that is maybe underutilized or not being utilized for anything that already has infrastructure to it. So you can look at this two ways. One is it does have some growth potential, but there's also some ways we can improve things inside the city as well. So I think that I don't want to lose sight on opportunities within the current city limits.
Yep, and within Chapter 8, there's going to be another map that we'll look at more and dive a little bit more into, but yeah, no, I agree 100%. Then Chapter 7, in addition to the land use maps, we have goals, policies for residential, commercial, industrial, parks and open spaces. A few that I would want to point out is partnering with the Housing and Redevelopment Commission on the industrial side, recognizing that we want to minimize any negative impacts, including odor. We don't want any odor. And also need to recognize some potential limitations with regards to wastewater as well. So just want to point those out. Chapter 8 is the growth area analysis. I'll first point out that we did include a new section on annexation and the potential need for it in the future. We are working with CCOG on a kind of a growth area analysis to understand what that could look like in the future if it ever does come up, but it could become a tool potentially. So we include a new section on annexation. And I'm going to skip ahead to the growth areas map. So the previous growth area, the growth areas map in the previous comprehensive plan looked at growth areas based off of year. So potentially we could see growth in this area and it would assign a year to it. Growth in this area could be a different a block of time. And it's just tough to predict exactly when certain areas will develop. And so we looked at it a little bit differently this year. We looked at priority 1, which is the infill lots, which Jeff mentioned a little bit ago. These are areas that are within city limits. There's infrastructure in place and would be areas that would be encouraged for near-term development. Area 2, it's the area along South Derby. It's not within city limits, but it's adjacent. There's infrastructure nearby, and it could be a medium-term area for growth. Priority 3 is the areas in yellow. We're either in city limits or maybe adjacent to city limits. There would be some infrastructure would be needed. And then area 4, or areas that even a little bit further out, would be longer-term growth areas. So we looked at it a little bit differently in this comprehensive plan as compared to the one done in 2017. Chapter 9 was the planning policy framework. So there's just several goals that are listed throughout various objectives and policies. I'm not going to go through them all. We'll be here for a while, but it just lists a number of goals to provide guidance for future decision making. Some land use planning strategy. And community and economic development strategy. So planning and implementation, Jeff pointed this out earlier, but the intention is not just to put this on the shelf and not review it. It's going to be an actively used document through regular decision-making at planning commission meetings, city commission meetings, as we do the budget, the CIP. We're looking to do annual amendments or review as needed. If something comes up where we need to open this back up and make some adjustments, we can do that. This calls for a 5-year major plan update. This time was pretty extensive. The last one was done in 2017, so it's been 9 years untouched, so it was a pretty lengthy process. hopefully in 5 years, it's going to be pretty painless. Because again, the intention is to actively be looking at this regularly. So that's the comprehensive plan. Just a kind of a peek of what's next. So this is the public hearing. There's going to be an opportunity for anyone from the public or the commissioners to make comments on it. We'll then take those comments, incorporate those, that feedback into this comprehensive plan, and then it'll go next to the Planning and Zoning Commission for their approval, and then back here to the City Commission for their approval, and then we'll put this to work. So I'll step aside, and if there's anyone that wants to comment, or commissioners or in the public, they're more than welcome to. It's still in the public hearing.
Yeah.
I've been talking a while, but
Oh, thanks, Andrew.
You know, just to add a couple things here, if there are any questions or comments, but as a parallel part of this process is we're assembling a group of, a set of performance metrics that we can measure against this. I mentioned it earlier. And so hopefully annually or every 2 years, we'll be presenting to you our progress with this comprehensive plan against the key industries, you know, population, income, vacancies, that kind of stuff. One of the most important, I think, metrics for us, for me anyways, is school enrollment. If we see improved school enrollment over time, that should be one of our major objectives, because that means we're doing the things the comprehensive plan meant us to do. And so that will be a big metric moving forward. There'll be other metrics that we'll want to compare ourselves to over time, but I think that's one change that you'll see moving forward over the next couple of years, is that we'll be weighing ourselves against certain performance measures. The other part is the next step in this process. I think once, Andrew, when we get this comprehensive plan done, is try to assemble a strategic plan to carry this out. And so that's kind of the next step in the planning process, is once we get the comprehensive plan about what we want to do, we'll hopefully put together, I don't see a huge complex document, but it will be a structure that you can review and to see how we plan on achieving some of these things in the comprehensive plan. And then that all leads back to the work plans, into the strategic plan, into the comprehensive plan. So hopefully we're putting together a system, a framework that can work into the future for North Sioux City.
Any questions, comments? Public hearing is still open. All right. Hearing none, let's make a motion to close the public session. Hearing?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, public hearing closed. Thank you, Andrew.
thank you.
Next item, last item, financial. Approval of alcoholic beverage licenses. Oh, it's you again.
I'll be quicker this time. This is annual licensing for beer and wine licenses in North Sioux City. Pretty straightforward. Once the city commission approves, then they'll get sent off to the state. They'll send back licenses to City Hall, and we'll get them distributed to the businesses who applied.
All right. Looking for a motion to approve that list.
So
Make a
moved.
motion to approve.
Sure.
Sorry.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, moving on to approval of bills. Look for a motion to approve the bills.
I'll make a motion to approve the bills.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, now I'll look for a motion for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, we are adjourned.